Harbaugh was touting him all season. That's my guy. He's the best. Woo woo woo. Oh, he's a son to me. I made him marry my daughter. Like everything, man. He was saying all that stuff. And for them to go out there and just play bad, it just shows that they have a lot of holes and a lot of things they got to pick up on offense this side if they really want to compete in the AFC.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the iCoaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams. And on today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition, we talk about the wild card weekend and prepare you for the divisional playoff round. In addition, we do talk coaching searches as well as GM searches. But first, on behalf of the iCoaches Podcast, the CK Save Project, we want to send our thoughts and prayers out to the people in California. It's bad, folks, and I hope politics doesn't get in the way of people getting help. They do need help, and we're sending our best to them. So let's get started. We are taping prior to the Commanders-Bucks game, and we're taping prior to the Vikings and Rams game that had to get moved to Arizona. So with that, Teacher of the Month every month, Mike Connors. Mike, what's the best thing you saw in Super Wild Card Weekend?
Best thing I saw was the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I mean, he just did everything right. He threw the ball. He ran like crazy. The Ravens are hitting the stride at the right time, like we talked about earlier in the year. They didn't look great earlier in the year. They had some growing pains, but they are hitting their stride at the perfect time at tournament time. So I was really, really impressed with how the Ravens handled the Steelers. And I know the Steelers were on a little bit of a slide. They lost 5 in a row, but they're still the Steelers. Tomlin is a great coach. He usually finds a way to win when he needs to, but the Ravens, I thought, were the most impressive team so far.
All right, Captain for Life, Will Cotton, what was the best thing you saw this weekend?
I don't think they're the best team, but the Houston Texans, man. I think the Houston Texans, first of all, they won their division, number one, and the Chargers were coming in as a wild card, and everyone was picking the Chargers. Everybody was picking the Chargers. It was, I think they're like winning winning by a field goal at home, which means they got to come east, even though it's not that far east. And they went out there and they dominated, man. And that's why you pay for Joe Mixon to get, 106 yards and a touchdown. And Nico Collins is showing out, man. That kid is playing. He's getting better every play, every game. 7 catches, 122 and a tug. That kid is balling right now. So the best thing I saw was definitely the Texans.
Yeah, I got to jump in, going along with Mike. The best thing I saw was big boy football dominance. Baltimore dominated. Buffalo dominated, left not a bit of doubt that we're the best teams out there, and send everybody home. So I love watching big boy football dominate. Will, what was the worst thing you saw wild card weekend?
Man, there was a lot out there. There was a lot, but it's got to be Justin Herbert. 4 interceptions. It was just abysmal. I think the only thing they can really take from that silver lining is that his contract is very team friendly. So he got paid very early. So he's not really making a lot of money that's going to break the bank for them. I think he makes like 37 next year, 46, and then 58. That's palatable for a lot of teams that they can bring in some talent, because that's what we've seen. I mean, the difference between them and is Lamar and Derrick Henry. Saquon and Hurts. When things get squirrely, when things get on the ropes, you give it to the bell cow. You just give it to the guy. And and he just looked bad. And the worst part about it was Harbaugh was touting him all season. That's my guy. He's the best. Woo woo woo. Oh, he's a son to me. I made him marry my daughter. Like everything, man. He was saying all that stuff. And for them to go out there and just play bad, it just shows that they have a lot of holes and a lot of things they got to pick up on offense this side if they really want to compete in the AFC.
And was the stat he threw more interceptions in one game than he did in the season? Is that a true stat?
Yep. That's true, yes.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Connors, what's the worst thing you saw today, sir?
The worst thing I saw this weekend was the Denver Broncos. I mean, they came out and Bo Nix threw a beautiful deep pass, beat the defense, touchdown, opening drive, less than 3 minutes in. I was like, oh, this is going to be a shootout. Nope, that was it. They didn't do anything else.
Don't remind me of that.
Nix threw for about 140 yards. He was the leading rusher with 43 yards. and they only had about 75 yards of rushing as a team, that's not the way you're going to beat Buffalo. And Buffalo came out and they killed it. And I was thinking about the Chargers being the worst thing, but I feel bad for the LA Chargers right now because you don't know where their heads are. I mean, they moved that game because of the fires. I have some dear friends that live in the LA area. One is a third grade teacher and their school is gone. About 80% of their local community has lost their home. So a lot of these players, I'm sure, for the LA Chargers had different things on their mind. Moving that game, made them a little safer with breathing. But I can only imagine what a lot of those guys were worrying about with family and friends. So it had to be really hard for them to even play today or this weekend with everything that's going on.
Yeah, I totally understand that piece. Most surprising, I'll start, is the disrespect of Mike Tomlin. I'm only going to focus on the AFC North. And we did a season-long over-under bet with the Steelers, who are favored to win 8.5 games. Okay? He wins 10. And if you look at the AFC North, that's the only ones I'm looking at. And we were at the playground, Will, and you see Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. You picking Lamar Jackson. If you see Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields, you picking Joe Burrow. Cleveland, they're all bad. So for the better teams in your division, you only had talent that they have, and he got 10 games out of them. So please trade me. See if you can do better than me, fine. But, yeah, that was a masterful coaching job with no talent compared to who he had to beat. They overperformed. Will, what's the most surprising thing you saw?
Yeah, similar to the Steelers. I was just surprised that they came in so flat. I think the team, even though it's coming out a couple L's, I think 2 or 3 in a row, I was just expecting, hey, you're going against the Ravens. You're trying to shock the world. I really read Russ didn't play bad. I mean, he had 272 tug, and I was like, okay, but they just were outclassed. They were just outclassed, and I think that is a lot of the things that people talk to when you're getting rid of Tomlin. Is like, okay, now you're getting outclassed in the playoff. Like, you're not changing plays, you're not doing things that are conducive of winning at this anymore. I think he totally deserves to continue his contract, keep his contract until the end of, I think, 2027. But it's definitely they have to, at some point you have to change the face. At some point you have to give a fresh breath, a good start. So I was just surprised.
Tell that Pickens boy to be quiet. he a little too noisy for me, and he won't be there. Noise.
He won't be there for long. He won't be there long.
All right, Connors, what's the most surprising thing you saw this week?
The most surprising thing I heard was a comment by Jimmy Johnson today on the pregame, talking about how the Steelers and the Cowboys might need a breath of fresh air at the coaching positions. Should they swap coaches? It made me think. Tomlin is a great coach. He's been in Pittsburgh for a long time. Is he maybe getting stale there? The Dallas coach is a Pittsburgh guy. He's from that area. He's a good coach. Could that be something that worked? That just made me go, and think about it for a long time today. Because of the other games, I mean, nothing was really shocking in the games to me. I mean, they kind of played out. The score might have been a little lopsided here or there, but none of the games were a shocker. So nothing really surprised me there. But that comment by Jimmy Johnson made me think about maybe it is time for a fresh start in Pittsburgh and just part as friends before things get bad.
Yeah.
Well, Will, before you comment on that, I will just say, I don't know if Mr. Jones would go in that direction.
I agree.
What do you think, sir?
I don't think so either. He's just saying, nah, I'm good on that. No way.
I didn't hear that though, Mike. I'm glad you brought that up. I have to go check that out. So, fans, when we get back in segment 2, we're going to talk about the NFL coaching cycle and some of my problems with it. And I've got the right crew here to help me through this. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Safe Project, with a question for you. Are you passionate about supporting student athletes? If so, then become an official member of the CKA Safe Project and make a difference today. With your membership, you'll be able to help us provide essential academic and athletic support to underserved communities nationwide. Join us in empowering student athletes to achieve their full potential, both on and off the field. Together, we can build a brighter future through education and sports. Visit ckasaveproject.org and choose your membership level now. $25 is a bronze level membership, $50 is a silver level membership, and $100 is a gold level membership. Be a part of the change. Become a member of the CKA Save Project today. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. It's the NFL coaching cycle, so let us educate the audience first before I overly complain about things. So let's get this out of the way. Brian Flores sued the NFL and several teams, alleging discrimination regarding his interview processes with the Denver Broncos and the New York Giants and his firing by the Dolphins years ago. The NFL stripped the Dolphins of their 2023 first-round pick, among other disciplinary measures, after an investigation into the accusations of tampering that surfaced in the Flores lawsuit. The lawsuit itself is in the legal process, but again, somebody sued the NFL about this. So how do you get around it? The NFL rules have been tweaked in recent years in an effort to slow down the hiring process for coaches and general managers. But in more than a quarter century of ownership, the Kraft family has never done a true coaching search. And that's what makes the Jerod Mayo firing even more upsetting to me, because it was just released by the Patriots that they hired Mike Vrabel. Well, in Jerod Mayo's contract with the Patriots, he was the coach in waiting. He never liked coaches in waiting. James Franklin was the coach in waiting in Maryland, and he's at Penn State. So then Vrabel got fired, and he was available, and they were like, what do we do? So they didn't support him. This is Keith talking. They didn't support him as well as I thought they should. And now, when you look at the coaching search, they interviewed Pep Hamilton for the job. They interviewed Byron Leftwich for the job. Now, if you do not know, the NFL has the Rooney Rule, which is from Dan Rooney, a salt-of-the-earth gentleman who looked for opportunities to create opportunities, I should say, for minorities to be involved. And they also interviewed, reportedly, Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson. And now, before we even really get going, Mike Vrabel is the new coach, blah, blah, blah. And what are we doing here? So before we get to everybody else, Will, any thoughts? Is Coach just mad or what? Because I'm not smart, but Pep Hamilton got an interview? Talk to me.
I think everything you said, I don't have to really elaborate more on what was said. I will say that, if you're thinking about it, not everyone will get an interview. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing sometimes, not getting that job. I'm not upset if I don't get the Raiders job. I wouldn't be that upset if I got the Jets job. Because traditionally when, African American head coaches usually have to, fall on the sword and say, okay, well, you're going to be the coach that's going to, we're going to be the hard times. And then as soon as times get good, then we're going to grab somebody else, So I think, with the money that the NFL is going on right now, I don't think there's a huge immediate to jump in and be a bad situation. Like Brian Flores, dude, you have nothing right now in Tennessee. There's nothing in Vegas. There's nothing. Who knows? But there's nothing right now. So it's a very line that you have to follow. And I think as Black men, I think we just have to look at the big picture a little bit and say, okay, maybe just chilling where I'm at a couple years, and then see what opens. I think a lot of us jump into it and say, okay, well, I need this Jets job. Ain't
but 32 jobs, Will. And Kingsbury's about to get one.
But
Antonio in Vegas, they set him up. He had Gardner Minshew and the other guy I can't even pronounce, and it was like, it's you.
Yeah,
What
it's
do
a
you want
setup.
me to do with
Exactly.
this?
It's with the money, but hey, but you know the check's clear. They pay you. If they
Yes.
fire you, they still have to give you the money. So I get it. I see why guys are like, shoot, I'll
Oh
take $20
man.
million for 5 years. And if he fired me in three, I can go chill with my wife or chill with my friends and I still make money. I don't have to do nothing. Yeah, I understand. But they don't, it's not a real true process to build up success. Look at Tomlin. They brought him in and built him up to have the success that he had, that he's been able to sustain. They don't. I mean, they just don't do it. And I wouldn't be upset if I didn't get hired this time because this is a crap bunch of teams to be part of,
All right.
organizationally in a way.
And speaking of crap bunch of teams, Mike,
Hey, wait a
we
second
have
now.
the list of teams in front of us. So fans, we're gonna, have our panel just give some advice. So, Mike, you see the list of winners that the Bears are going after. Even Pete Carroll got an interview. Joe
Oh,
Brady got an interview. What direction would you go in if you were the Chicago Bears?
oh, sweet Lord. I don't know because the Bears are a hot. Yeah, Will said it right. There's no really appealing team in this open position of coaching that I can see. Maybe Jacksonville would be the most appealing because it's got warm weather and a couple of pieces with a young quarterback who needs to be developed, a decent running game in ETN and stuff like that. But for the Bears, it's going to be tough for them to get someone. I'd love to see Ben Johnson get a shot there, just being a young progressive offensive mind to come in there with a young quarterback that they just took in the draft. But other than that, Pete Carroll, come on. I mean, he's I mean, the man's 72 years old. He had his time in the sun. It's like politics. We're voting for a 78-year-old and an 80-year-old. There's no 52-year-old politician we can throw their hat in the ring. It's getting ridiculous just recycling all these same old guys. It's just horrible.
All right. So, Will, I'm going to give you the Jaguars. You have your quarterback under contract, but he's woefully underperformed, and ownership kept the GM, but they're willing to get rid of the GM if the coach says so. And they said that with the GM sitting there. What are you thinking for Jacksonville?
I think you got to go offensive coordinator. I think you got it. If you're going to if the guy who's making the most amount of money that's supposed to make the biggest impact on your team, it has to be the quarterback. And if Trevor Lawrence is the guy that you need to develop him to turn into what you want to, you have to bring him an offensive mind to kind of, bring that in for him. If they go defensive, then they just doing a disservice to him. They doing a disservice to him, and they're not really serious about winning.
All right, Mike, we're going to take you to New York, but we're going to give you the Jets. And Rex Ryan really, really wants that job. What do you think about the Jets candidate?
I really want to be the head wrestling coach at Penn State. That doesn't mean I should get it. I mean, Rex Ryan did a great job while he was there in his day. Again, retreading another coach, I just don't get it. The Jets have historically always gone defense when it comes to head coaches. Saleh, Rex Ryan, and we see where we are now. Another couple years with a coach, another failed thing. Bring in Aaron Rodgers. Oh, he's the next coming. We're talking Super Bowls. No, we're talking 5 wins. So I think they've got to go offense. I think they need to get a young coach, someone with a big personality because it is New York. And the Jets will always be the little brother to the Giants. Even, I can't think of anything that would overturn them. And the Giants are a horrible organization right now. But that just tells you how bad the Jets are historically. So I really think they need to go to a young, vibrant head coach. Again, I'd love to see a Ben Johnson come in there. I'm looking at the list. Mike Vrabel, no, he's gone. And the other two, we had Ron Rivera, again, retread for the 3rd, 4th time. Rex Ryan.
That's not even a good tire to go back on. That's like tricycle tires.
I know. I mean, but maybe, and I know I'm going to get crucified for this one. Maybe a Cliff Kingsbury, a young coach. He has some head coaching experience, okay, in the league. I'm not saying he was the most successful, but he's good at a microphone. He was in Arizona for a couple of years. He's done a very good job with the Commanders' offense as their offensive coordinator. Maybe he could be someone that they bring in, and I don't know if they get a stopgap quarterback for a couple years, bring in a veteran and draft, or wait for the next year's draft, which will be much more deep quarterback draft. But again, that's the retread positions, the coaches like Rivera and Rex Ryan. I mean, Rex Ryan's a great soundbite. I mean, being a New York area guy, part of me would love him to get the job, because I know that the sports radio is going to be hysterical, because he's just, you never know what he's going to say. But I really don't think he's the best thing for the Jets right now.
All right, we'll close us out. The Raiders. You've been there. You've seen the stadium. You've eaten their food. You have drank their wine. What do you think they should do?
Man, I mean, why wouldn't go in on Prime? Why wouldn't you go in on Prime?
Come
Why
on,
not?
man.
You at the biggest at anything, you'll be the focal point of the entire NFL. Everyone will be looking at Deion Sanders. If he was able to, draft his son, that'd be great. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And at the end of the day, Vegas is big on entertainment. So that's going to be as entertaining as it will be. But let's also speak, Sanders does the thing that Prom does very well is he puts around coaches that are good. He puts other people around, and he knows how to manage. And he is the big personality. He takes on the people. If you want to attack me, because I'm a big mouth and I talk a lot of trash. And I got a lot of Super Bowls. So you can say whatever to me. And he lets them guys work, and they trust him. And I wouldn't be adverse to seeing them taking that shot at them again. I wouldn't be upset if they took it as a black man. He had a black coach. You know what I'm saying? We were just talking about that. But that's what I would do. I don't think there's really another viable choice. Everything else would be kind of
Marcus
safe.
Freeman.
That's super. That's out there. I don't know.
I'm just being a god of podcast.
But you got to think the Raiders would be smart to bring in someone like a Sanders, I think, because he learned from a great coach at Florida State how to be a CEO. By the time Deion got to Florida State, Bobby Bowden was a figurehead. My brother went to Clemson, so I followed them pretty closely because they were rivals. The best thing I knew Bobby Bowden for was having an office with a pull-out couch so he could take a nap. But you know what he could do? He could work the microphone, and he brought in great coaches. He had Jimbo Fisher, who was the coach in waiting, and they finally got tired of Bobby, and they ran him out to bring Jimbo in. But you know what he did? He got great athletes. He was a good soundbite. He brought in good coaches. NFL, more and more head coaches are getting to be CEOs because they don't get to coach that much. They're overseers. And like Will said, Deion's going to bring in big name coaches. He brought them to Jackson State, of all places. He brought them into Colorado, which was a dead program. So that would be a great, and you know that the Davis family is always about bringing in the headlines. The bad boys bailing out the defense back in the 70s and 80s before the game and going to the LA Times to advertise that they were doing it. Vegas needs something, and Deion under the bright lights, get his kid maybe to be the quarterback. That's a story that only Deion could write.
I don't know. Mark Davis kind of likes to camera himself, so
he could stand right. He could stand right next to Deion.
Okay. Yep. All right. So, fans, when we get back in segment 3, we'll make big game predictions. See which teams we're going to follow. We'll be right back on the iCoaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Save Project and author of Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. This book is your key to unlocking the secrets of being a successful student athlete. Drawing from my 30-year career as a teacher and coach, this instructional guide offers a unique perspective on achieving success in both academics and athletics. With over 15 personal stories and insightful antidotes, Finding the Balance is a must-read for student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators. Visit www.ckasaveproject.org to get your copy and start finding the balance today. Welcome back to the iCoaches Podcast in segment 3. Before we get to some big predictions for our divisional rounds, is it possible to make a change for change's sake? Okay, the Chargers, we joked all year, were turning the corner, and they turned right back to pumpkins. So One of the issues that was said was the playoffs should be changed because teams like the Vikings, who have winning records, are playing on the road, and that's not fair. Mike, you're a social studies teacher. You're a teacher of the month. Should we just change the playoff rules to appease the small portion of the audience who thinks this is unfair? What do you think, sir?
No, life's not fair. If life was fair, I'd be this weight, but 6'7", not 5'7". That's fair. But no, I mean, there has to be some reward for winning your division. And let's get into it. It's all cyclical. Sometimes the NFC East was the beast in the East and the best conference. The last few years they've been down. This year they're back to a decent conference. The NFC North was the joke for a long, long time. And now they're a very strong conference again. So this just is cyclical. I mean, if anything, play the first round the way it is. And then if you want to reseed for the second round, I can see that.
They do.
Oh,
they already reseed. Yeah.
Okay. Then then I got no problem with that. With the first round, no. If you win your division, you should have a home game. Okay. You want to complain? Play better.
God, man, everybody deserves a trophy. What do you think, man?
No, I'm with Mike. I agree. I think you just, if you're better, then go out there and be the better team. If you have 11 wins and you're going against a guy who has 10 wins and people are like, you're going to win, and everybody in Vegas said you're going to win, so then go out and win. But then you get there and you don't win. So you can't be like, oh, well.
You get smoked.
It was, yeah. I mean, you can't get smoked like, well, we weren't home. So it's like, nah, you can't do that, man. So, and other teams, and there's teams who've come through the Super Bowl and won being on the road the entire time. So I don't even think that's really
Connors, wasn't that the Giants 1 year?
Giants 9-7 came through.
Packers
won it all.
2012.
Beat the Pats. Excuse me. Yeah, it can be done.
They beat the Steelers. No, they lost to the Steelers. Who did they beat? I forgot. But in 2012, when Aaron Rodgers only a ring, he won it through the wild card.
Good. All right. So Will, AFC. Who's got the best chances to win it all, man? Are we looking at KC? We looking at Baltimore? Looking at Houston? What do you think in the AFC?
Man, I think it's the Chiefs and the Ravens to lose, man. I think they're just playing. We'll see what the Chiefs look like. I wasn't really super impressed by Buffalo. I think they won and they should have won at home. But it just didn't look like they should have. Like, it didn't look like they would have beaten the Ravens if they were playing them last night. So, So right now, I think it's the Chiefs and the Ravens until further notice.
Okay, Connors, AFC. Who should win this thing? What are you thinking?
On paper, Kansas City should win. But that's why you play games. I mean, 3 of the 4 teams that are left in the AFC looked really good, I thought. I mean, Baltimore looked really good in their game. Buffalo did not play their best game, but they still won 31-7. And you play who's in front of you, and they dominated the team in front of them. And Houston has been a crazy team all year. We've talked about them almost every week. 1 week they're up and look like they're going to win the Super Bowl. The next week they're down and they look like they've never played a game before. And they still have a big winning record because they won their division. So, I mean, it's crazy, but I still got to go with KC for, they hit their stride at the right time, and this is their time to shine. They had a week off to get healthy. They had some dings, some bumps and bruises. I mean, the quarterback had a high ankle sprain allegedly, and I've never seen a high ankle sprain get healed so quickly with this modern medicine that they have. But it's just until someone
Barbecue.
beats the man. Yeah, that's so put a little extra sauce on that, rub on it.
There you go, man. Heal me up.
but no, I got to stick with Kansas City for right now.
Okay, Connors, I'll stay with you in the NFC. Who's looking good to you? Who you think going to be the team we've got to watch?
My heart is still with the Lions. I know they've got some injuries, but
sometimes
they have a lot of injuries. But no other team really in that division makes me say, "Oh, they're going to go out and get it." I just know they do. A lot of people I've heard talking about the Rams sneaking in, making a run at the right time. Their coach has a good history. But I gotta go. I think it's Campbell. I think they're a team of destiny this year. I'm sticking with the Lions.
Okay, Cotton Man, you're going to say the Eagles, right?
Yeah. I'm going to stick with the Lions. I mean, I'm never going to jump that ship, man. We've been riding that for years.
We've been riding that from the start of the show.
Yeah, exactly. But if we're outside the lines, man, I think the Eagles have a great chance, man. They have a lot of things that you're supposed to need in the playoff to win. I mean, you have a running back that can change the game without any sort of like specific play. You got two receivers who can score deep, who are monsters. You can just throw it up to them. You have a very dynamic quarterback that can run around he's very healthy. It seems like his concussion was just a couple weeks ago. So I mean, and their defense is clicking right now. Their defense was looking really good. They get at them they're pretty good. Jalen Carter gets at them pretty good. The DBs are very aggressive. They were crushing the Packers receivers, like breaking their arms, breaking their ribs, like knocking these dudes out of the game. It was bad, you know. So I think that team, man, if they can keep playing and they just, you know, quietly just keep doing what they got to do, man, they have a really good shot to beat the Lions.
I gotta ask this though, fellas. The Eagles make me nervous because one, Jalen, they got 22 points today, and it looked really hard to get those 22 points. It looked really, really challenging to get those 22 points. And then you've got other teams that are just popping at these. I mean, Detroit had the backup in, and they're still slinging hash. So they're going to give me pause. So for me, Detroit's going to be tough to beat. But I'm curious to see how Minnesota's going to play because that was Sam Darnold. That was the Sam Darnold I thought I was going to see all season. that was. This other guy, every week, Mike, how many weeks did George say, man, I'm surprised.
16 of the 18, I believe.
Way, speaking of surprise, you can't talk about Shaq anymore, George, because I ain't seen you in 2 weeks. And the Chargers ain't playing well. All right. And Kansas City has not played well. It's hard to push my chips to the middle with Kansas City. And sometimes you just do. And Lamar looked angry. Derrick Henry, they gave him the ball. It's going to be tough to beat them.
He's a monster.
God
almighty.
And Buffalo, I just can't buy. I'm sorry, Tyler. All right, so this has been good. So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, and we'll see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
Peace.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.